local all morning. The Fox 61 Morning News starts now.
And right now at 6 o'clock, Hartford police investigating yet another killing in the capital city. We'll tell you what we know so far about the victim who was killed at his home late last night.
Plus, the FBI investigation involving former President Trump, a deadline later this afternoon for the former president when it comes to what happens next in the investigation.
And some new guidance from the CDC when it comes to COVID-19, what this means when it comes to how you work and what the kiddos' return to school is going to look like.
Good morning, sunshine, and happy Friday. You know, we like to say Friday instead of Friday. Feeling good so far. We hope you are too. Thank you for waking up with us here on Fox 61. I'm Symphony Privet in for Erica this morning.
And I'm Tim Lammers. Yes, any weekend is a good weekend as far as we're concerned for all of you Monday through Friday workers, because shout out to those of you who worked on the weekend. I did
Weekend
it for
warriors.
Many years, yes. Yeah. All right, let's get you a check on the weather. Meteorologist Sam Sampiri joins us right now. Good morning, buddy.
And good morning, Tim and Symphony. Good to see you again, Symphony.
Hey, Sam.
Yep, happy Friday and happy weekend. And yes, we are off and running to a beautiful stretch of weather. Let's take a look at the beach and boating forecast today, because this is going to be the same all weekend. Just the high tide cycle will change. We're in the late morning to early afternoon. Temperatures basically in the low 80s. And yeah, we're 68 now. We have some clouds around still. Those clouds are actually due to a front that's just offshore. Gave us a little bit of rain last night. The clouds will gradually clear out. 62 Torrington to 70 Groton, New London to 67 in Meriden. Basically, you're in the 60s for most of us. The dew points are starting to go back down again. And we have a north wind, and not too bad, about 5 to 10 miles per hour across the region. And let's take a look at these clouds up and over. Don't worry about any kind of spot shower here. That's not a big deal. A little bit overreaction to the radar composite, and this area low pressure offshore will miss us. We were concerned, but not anymore. It's going to stay far enough maybe to give us a few clouds from time to time, especially in eastern Connecticut throughout the weekend. But for today, mostly sunny, pleasant, a few clouds around, especially in central eastern Connecticut. Highs reaching the upper 70s to lower 80s across the area. It's great for fishing right through the weekend. Coming up, I will detail that weekend forecast. We'll look ahead into next week. You know, you want to stick around because of big changes on the Fox 61 7-day forecast. Now we'll go over the traffic. And Lauren, how are we doing this as we start the 6 o'clock hour now?
Things are looking good out there, Sam. Good morning, everyone. 6:02 here, almost 6:03 in the Fox 61 CTDOT Traffic Center. Just seeing some delays in Waterbury on I-84 eastbound popping up. No incidents as of right now. We know that construction is already wrapped up for the morning, so this is a little fishy, but we'll work to get some more information on that. Let's take a look at our Hartford drive times. Things are looking good. 91, 84, Route 2, both directions, all moving freely for our morning commuters right now. As we take a live look out in Wethersfield, we can see right near Old Wethersfield that things are moving just fine. And out in Waterbury, this is as you're approaching the Mix Master on that right-hand side of your screen. Construction has cleared. Traffic is moving fine in this area of Waterbury. But like I said, there were some delays over further westbound on the eastbound side in Waterbury. As we take a live look out in Fairfield and New Haven, traffic is moving just fine on 95 in both directions. And do want to end with an alert at Bradley International Airport. There are several delays and cancellations for arrivals and departures. So if you are going to be taking to the skies, definitely be checking in with your airline. We'll continue to check in all morning long, starting in the next half hour. But for now, Tim and Symphony, back over to you.
Well, thank you so much. It is 6:04. Hartford police have released more information about a man who was shot and killed inside his own home. One of two people who were actually shot at an apartment on Laurel Street last night. Police said this does appear to be a targeted shooting, like a lot of the shootings in Hartford have been lately. They identified the victim as 34-year-old Simon Griffin from Hartford. Police said he lived there, and the surviving victim, a man in his 20s, is in critical but stable condition at a hospital. Still a lot more we need to learn about what happened, including if there's any suspects. So once we learn more, we'll get you updated on air and through the Fox 61 News app.
Police in Hartford are also continuing to investigate the city's 24th homicide of the year. Adelia LaTorres was killed on Saturday. She died on Colonial Street. Thursday evening, loved ones remembered her at a vigil. Those who knew her are honoring her and calling for an end to gun violence.
When you lose a loved one, the pain is different. especially a sibling.
She was loving, she was caring, she was a sweet girl.
LaTorres' loved ones calling for justice. One person was detained at the scene Saturday night and was questioned by investigators, but so far that person has not been charged.
Well, a Hamden teenager's life is also being remembered. Elias Nini, an 18-year-old Hamden High grad, died in a car crash just a couple weeks ago in New Haven. He was co-captain of the school's lacrosse team and a goalkeeper for the soccer team. Those who knew him said they'll remember his smile.
You would look at his smile and you would just want to smile. He had a very contagious laugh also. So just him being so positive made other people continue to stay happy.
Elias's family didn't want to speak on camera, but they did want to thank everybody for coming to that remembrance. The cause of the crash that killed Elias is still being investigated.
Now to Connecticut's fight against COVID-19. The positivity rate rises slightly over the past 7 days. It now stands at 12%. 27 fewer people are in the hospital due to COVID-19 over the last week, with a total of 325 hospitalized. Since last week, 34 more people died in connection with COVID-19.
We are well more than 2 years into the pandemic now, but the CDC is relaxing some of its COVID-related guidelines.
Let's check in with Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc this morning, joining us live outside Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven with more details on this. So, Julia, what's changed?
Hi, good morning to you. Actually, quite a lot if you really think about it. The CDC is now recommending different recommendations for quarantining if you come into close contact with someone who has COVID, and they are removing the 6 feet social distancing rule. Now, as you mentioned, we are now more than 2 years into this pandemic, and these new guidelines coming from the CDC just yesterday, and they are saying that the agency says that about 95% of Americans who are 16 years old or older has either had COVID or they're vaccinated. So a lot of people, most people, have some immunity at this point. So that's why they're making those changes now. Now, instead of quarantining, if you were exposed to COVID, the CDC now recommends wearing a high-quality mask for 10 days and getting tested on day 5. They've also dropped the test-to-stay recommendation given to schools, which means students exposed to COVID-19 can test regularly instead of quarantining at home, which allows them to stay in school longer, which is what most people want. Now, they still recommend masking up in areas of high community transmission, or if you're at high risk of getting severely ill if you catch COVID. And if you do have COVID, you should still isolate at home for 5 days.
On day 6 or later, when they are fever-free for 24 hours, they can end isolation and wear a mask.
Now, the CDC is issuing this new guidance in recognition that the pandemic is far from over, but they say the new recommendations will cause less of an impact on our daily lives. We are live right outside of Yale New Haven Hospital. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61 News.
Julia, thank you for all that important information. We do appreciate it. All right, it is 6:08. The monkeypox numbers are increasing here in Connecticut. Of course, we have to say this. It is a concern. By no means are we seeing an outbreak like we saw with COVID, but here's the graph. You decide for yourself. The state's first case was discovered on July 5th. Since then, they've been on the rise, nearly doubling between July 21st and July 28th, now up to 57 cases in Connecticut, 3 more than we had yesterday.
Governor Ned Lamont explaining the impact of the Inflation Reduction Act could have on Connecticut. Now, the legislation is meant to tackle many issues, including inflation and reducing health care costs.
Look, we have a long way to go on inflation, but I think the Inflation Reduction Act is making a big difference, will make a big difference. And it's a big difference not just this year, but at least for the next few years.
Now, the House is expected to vote on the act as soon as today.